We're going to start recording in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Armchair Imagineering Challenge number 3. Joining me once again is the artistic mind of greatness, Mr. Rob Yeo. Hello, Rob. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. How about yourself?
I am doing great, man. I am excited to take a deeper look at some mysteries, some mountainous mysteries. Man, I dropped them. I should have.
Yes.
I missed the joke. I'm sorry. I failed you so
Gave
terribly.
away the challenge.
I'm so intimidated, man. It's Dan versus the Europeans today. Because with us, we also have Sarah Heel, themed graphics
Hello.
and signage designer. Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
We also have Pascal Heinzelmann, art director, concept artist, and illustrator.
Hello.
Hello, Pascal. And we have Liam Findlay, theme park and museum designer and themed smell creative for AromaPrime. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello. Nice to meet
How
you.
great does your house smell all the time?
Well, my mum complains about the smell of the dining room where I am right now quite a lot when I get my smells out.
Liam!
What theme is that?
Liam, are you making theme park smells again? Rob,
I've got a big box of samples in front of me.
Okay.
fair warning, Rob, I like making Rob laugh with my terrible British accent. So, fair warning.
I need to stop encouraging this.
Well, Nicki Minaj.
Oh, no, I'm way better than Nicki Minaj. All right, Rob, do you want to take a minute and explain to us challenge number 3 and what we've got brewing?
Okay, cool. So for challenge number 3, we asked people to design a land entrance for a made-up land called Mount Mystery. So beyond the fact that it would have to fit that name, it could be absolutely any kind of theme. And we wanted people to think about what kind of props you're going to use, what kind of landscaping, lighting, music, how it's really going to be brought to life, and how it helps tell the story to a park guest. And it needs to be attention grabbing. This is sort of the overture of the entire land, so it needs to be exciting. And then on top of that,
before you jump into the bonus, could you give us an example of a land entrance, like a solid land entrance?
Okay, so think Adventureland. So you're going from the hub and you're crossing underneath the big tiki sign. You've got the torches, you've got masks, you've got the drum music playing. It really is like the quintessential land entrance. So we're looking for something a lot like that. It's a portal you pass into to get into the land.
Perfect.
Rather than the land.
And then there's a little bit of a bonus challenge with this one.
Yes, this was really exciting, actually. So the bonus challenge is, in addition to designing your land entrance, was we asked people to come up with what does it smell like when you go through there? And beyond just what the literal smell is, why have you picked that? How does it tell the story? How is it going to make the guests feel as they're passing through? Because it could be, food smells to make them feel hungry. It could be sort of a scary, smell like death to frighten people, or it could be, tropical flowers so you relax and chill. So what's the smell, and then why have you picked that one?
Awesome. I am ready. Are you ready to jump right in, Rob?
Yeah, let's do it.
Look at our first,
Go team.
At our first entry here, the Kontiki Coast by World Watchers 97. This is the Kontiki Coast, where there are many attractions based on the vast history, cultures, and peoples of the Pacific. Welcome to the Kontiki Coast, an outpost for high adventure. Visualize the color of the flora, the blueness of the sky, the earthy tones of the rocks, the sheer greenery, and imagine the sound of water with the tropical scent wafting through the air. You know what? I'll take anything that's going to give me a giant mountain of tikiness,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I love tiki things in general, but it just sounds like such a relaxing, beautiful kind of land entry to me. Especially if you were going at night. I can imagine tiki torches and the waves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really dig this one. I think this is a really fun entrance. I love the idea of it being a Mount Mystery. You kind of left the whole mountain thing out there, so I like the whole. It's like an island. It's like an island mountain, which I kind of like. I'm excited to see how everyone interprets what the mountain is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, this is
It's
really
also
nice.
nice.
I also like how they incorporate a lot of nature in it. I wonder how they gonna force the sky to be blue all the time, but I guess that would be more of a problem for England. Maybe not so much where this is gonna be. But
Rude.
Skies are pretty blue in Florida all the time, I think.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This might not work in Disneyland Paris if it's trying to be a tropical paradise.
No.
But California, Florida, perfect.
Well, maybe it was indoor like the Truman Project.
Oh,
Yeah.
I dig it. All right, up next, we have at TDWiz96 and at Staffel3D1 with the UFO site. Several decades ago in 1955, one of the most mysterious events ever recorded in human history occurred. For the first time in millions of years, and without any warning, a massive asteroid had somehow found its way to Earth and crash-landed in the desert in the middle of nowhere. Instead of burning up or creating a crater, this asteroid lodged itself in the sands of the desert and stood half buried, half above the ground. Locals felt the earthquake as soon as earthquake had caused and started investigating the source. They were shocked to find an asteroid mountain protruding from the desert. They dubbed it Mount Mystery as no one could figure out how or why it landed where it did with no prior warnings. I really love this concept. I love this idea.
Yeah, can I just interject here? I love this one. In my notes, I went wild for this one because the mount is not terrain. It's like colloquial. It's like a mound of. Sorry, I'm like spoilers. Go ahead with the second paragraph. Sorry, just go ahead. I'm excited.
No, we could 100%. Yeah. Many mystery events would follow in the coming days and weeks and years surrounding Mount Mystery. Alien spaceships and UFOs were seemingly drawn to the asteroid and would crash land there. It quickly became referred to the Bermuda Triangle of spacecraft and was fenced off from the public and was taken over by the government. There's a second slide here that shows some of the props and landscape. Mount Mystery in the desert. There's not much landscaping around, but there'll be warning signs giving directions and crashed UFO spaceships that will dot the landscape. And at night, of course, all of the glow coming from the asteroid and some of the crashed spaceships. I love this idea. It's super like paranoid alien thinking, like the truth is out there kind of stuff. Let's make a great X-Files.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I like that other angle to mount. It's not a mountain straight away. It's more like it could be like a military code name for it, or it could be like the locals call it because nobody could understand what this mound is, and they called it Mount Mystery. I would want to say something about the signage for a second. I think they started on a good angle, sort of military-esque warning signage, but to take it to the next level, determine who named it. Was it the military? Is it a military code name, or is it a colloquial thing? And if it was colloquial, it could be to go with the cut-up fence. It could be a warning sign with the code name on it for whatever the area is, Area 51 or whatever, but then sprayed over Mount Mystery in graffiti to add that layer of we are uncovering the truth. The people, I think that could take it to the next level.
Yes.
But I think the cut fence is really great because we're going to discover the mystery. We're going to unveil it. And I think that's I really love this one in terms of, sorry, I was just waiting to say that. I was like, I'm looking forward to
No, I think that's a really good point, Sarah, because they got this great backstory, but the problem is always how you take this backstory and then translate it into a design, because the guest needs to understand it just visually and through their senses. And if, like you said, it's just all military signage, it's very sort of one-dimensional. And there's the question of why are they pointing you to go through a fence when it's clearly going against the rules? Whereas if we took your suggestion, where it's got one layer, which is military base, Area 51, it's all a cover-up. But then the townspeople have renamed it, they've broken in, then you've suddenly got two levels, which adds more story. It's got sort of layers of history and time. And I think that gives it sort of a bit more zest.
and a bit more danger. We're not being through on a guided tour. This is we're going around the back because we need to find out what the mystery is and what they're hiding there. And it isn't a mountain because we're in the desert and it's flat. Why is there a mountain? We've got to find the answers. And also from a budget point of view, it's actually really, really strong because it's storytelling and it's a chain link fence. I think it's actually quite ingenious, to be honest.
I think Alton Towers would be interested.
I don't think that I've seen a theme park execute something like this well, like some kind of crash landing site. I mean, sure, we've got Galaxy's Edge, but those are all familiar characters. This is something completely, devoid of IP. And I would love to see some kind of truly foreign land, but, not tied to an IP. So will it ever happen? Probably not.
I
Something
could definitely
find
see it as a
interesting-
Halloween house.
Yes.
Because it seems like not. I mean, creating the mount would be kind of pricey, probably, but I think that the whole vibe of the military uncovered is quite not easy to pull off, but not everything would have to be custom. So I think it would be very feasible, and I really imagine it in something like
you could have like the two factions. You have like the military guys as actors, and then the damn dirty hippies as actors who have like their signs everywhere.
Yeah, or
It's
like when
Dino
those
Land.
kids when those kids wanted to storm Area 51. This could be like
there
that.
we go.
Exactly.
Now it's relevant.
Liam, how are we going to be able to bring? Is this a scent that we could make happen with iron and metal, gunpowder, dust, dirt, and a little bit of hint of raspberry and charred burning spaceship? Could you? Is that something you'd recommend to be pumping into the air around the public?
Yeah, well, I found this one interesting because it has lots of standard smells like iron and gunpowder and dirt, which are all very relevant. I found the raspberry inclusion interesting. I
Alien
think
blood.
having an unexpected sweetness is going to catch people off guard, and that's definitely good to suggest something otherworldly going on behind all the burning.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. I love that. I love that idea. I love the implication of the raspberry.
Wow.
All right, up next we have One Little Spark 626 with the Hawaiian Island. Legend has it that there is a hidden mountain on the far side of Hawaii, on the far side of the Hawaiian Island. Few people have seen it, and even fewer go looking. This is because the story warns of a danger upon finding Mount Mystery. Accounts from the past witnesses describe seeing the mountain appear out of thin air, only to explore further and encounter the ground shaking and cracking open as if the mountain were trying to erupt at any moment. The scent of sweet-smelling flowers with an ashy undertone lures guests into the land.
This is probably a good time to just remind people that to save time, if someone's written a really lengthy entry, which it could be, backstory or details, we don't want to leave that out, but also we don't want to have a 20-hour long video. So it's all included. So if you're interested in any one of these, we've included it for you to pause, read, and then you can sort of carry on with the video, as is the case on the next slide of this one. But yeah, just a reminder.
I really like this one. I think it would be a beautiful story. And I think the folklore aspect of it is really interesting and mysterious. I have a few questions that I think that could be fleshed out more. Like, how would we hide a mountain? And how would we
Fog.
how would we I mean, there's ways of doing it, but I think that's what's kind of missing from this entry is like, this is how we could do it. If we make them turn through a corridor and we force them to look a certain way, and there's a mirror of some sort, kind of like the Platform 9 3/4 in Orlando and other things. I think there's, like the mirror trick that you have in, I think it was even in Journey to Imagination.
It could also be a forced perspective mountain, and then like you see in the artwork, which is actually really nice, that they made this whole entry experience. So you have like the forest and the bridge. So you basically hide a little bit what's going to expect you behind that scene. So you don't really know. So now if you make the mountain much smaller and it's just like behind a building or something, so you don't really get to the mountain and it's just like a miniature mountain in the far background, you could manage to hide it, maybe maybe a bigger sign. But I really like that it's like this full experience of the entry, not just like the door frame, but you go through this bridge, you have this deep blue river and the forest that hides everything. I think what would be really nice is if the sign would intrigue you a little more, maybe give some of the mystery that's behind it a little more in the design of the sign itself. It's not screaming, look at me and come to this place right now.
And also if there's a hidden mountain, it would not very likely be signposted. So of course we have to sign land. That makes sense for wayfinding. But is there a way that we can make it maybe it's a rock formation, maybe it's bushes, maybe Mount Mystery is written on a pebble, like a chunk that's maybe fallen from a temple or in a rock formation, and it's to the side, so it keeps the mystery, because otherwise it would be like that. That mountain that was hidden. By the way, here it is. So I think this is really like strong folklore peaked story, and I think it's really intriguing, but I think that a few more tweaks to really bring the mystery into the design and not just the name.
I like how they mentioned that the smell is there to lure guests in, because that's something that's particularly done with shops like sweet shops and gift shops. It's not so
They
much
always
done
catch
with
me
that.
like that.
Interesting. As an idea in terms of the mystery, that you would have a smell that would lure you in to perhaps something dangerous or enticing.
I wonder what the best way to do that would be. Would it be like a contrasting smell? So where you just were from, next to this, maybe there's a way of like, I don't know. I mean, the smell design.
Yeah. That's often something that works very well when you can contrast the smells, and there are some other entries that have considered that.
Cool.
Good thinking.
Up next, we've got Disney Ideas 2, Land of the Lost. The sign saying Mount Mystery is the broken wing of Amelia Earhart's missing plane being held up by trees located at the start of the trail. The main reason this is the story behind the mountain revolves around the mysteries of missing people through time. It's a land where time seems to be stopped and anything can happen. The main story revolves around the fact that for some reason lost objects seem to find their way to this location. No matter the object, it could be randomly found here, including the socks you lost in the dryer, which is... And there's a good deal more information. Rob, do you want to give us a little bit of a recap?
So basically, building onto this concept of this is kind of the place where all lost things go. It could be lost explorers, it could be lost items, and they've built this community. And there's great detail into what attractions are going to be in this land, and the fact you can have all these sort of survivors who are making a civilization, and they're kind of trapped in there, and how you have to kind of navigate your way out through some kind of labyrinth, I think. That's all such a really cool idea, because it lends itself to so many cool little design ideas. If you've got this idea that this is the place where lost things come from, and they've made like cobbled together everything they need from stuff they found, you can have this great scavenger chic design. I think what I'd say is, if we're just focusing on the entrance, the wing is a great sort of starting point, because that indicates that something's not quite right. But I think with the great backstory, you could have enhanced that entrance. It could be littered with stuff that doesn't make sense. You could have like grandfather clocks and detritus and things from different civilizations and times all mashed together. And then before you're even in there, you get the idea that something's not quite right. This isn't the real world. Something's amiss, and there is a mystery to be solved. I think it's all there in the backstory. She's through, like a lot of these entries, to how do you tell this just visually through the entrance and the props and how it's been designed.
Yeah, after reading the essay, the only thing is that I would have said is that perhaps you don't need some of the, it goes like, it's very, very, very fleshed out, but I think it almost kind of gets too much. There's a forest inside the mountain, there's lakes, there's all these things. I think the core idea is so strong, you could almost have the mountain made out of these, like a mound of things from all different places, and it would be really intriguing. A lot of these people are explorers that have gone looking for something and disappeared, so I think that's really interesting. Is this the place they were looking for, or is this what they... And I think that's a really, really strong concept, and the way that it's brought through to the signage, it just makes perfect sense to me. And like you said, maybe the portal could be made up of more found objects.
Very Thor Ragnarok.
That are just kind of
what I mean?
piled.
Like this big cosmic garbage disposal that just dumps everything into one spot. I kind of love that. I kind of love that idea.
Yeah, it's a perfect theme for a designer, because you can go crazy with like the periods and with the objects and everything. And I also like that they basically put the theme into the signage, so the signage is part of the experience. What I wonder is who wrote Mount Mystery on that plain wing? Who was that? Was it also like, is it written like by hand or even, I don't know, blood or something like that to make it more easy, or to more like tie it in with the whole theme? But yeah, it's a really cool idea to have like this Bermuda Triangle thing going on.
I think that's what gets us in sign design sometimes, is like we have the name, but how does that actually tie into the story? We know what it's called, and that's what started our designs. But do we put that on the sign? And then if it did, who wrote that? I think that's like a kind of a common kind of crossroads you get to with sign design, and a good question.
Yeah. I think it's a kind of a difference between like a diegetic design and a non-diegetic design. Because if it's diegetic, it means that wherever you're setting it, it's the people who live there who made the sign. And I think especially with this theme where it's called, Mount Mystery, a diegetic one would be, like we're talking about Area 51, the local townspeople have made the sign and it fits in with that idea because it's somewhere they're advertising, somewhere they're marking. For this one, it would be more non-diegetic where it's not you could go either way. If it's diegetic, they've made it out of their found parts and it all makes sense. Or you could do non-diegetic where it's just their kind of like a movie title and it's not supposed to exist in that actual environment. And sometimes you need to do that, like Tower of Terror. There's not a big Art Deco sign that says Tower of Terror because that doesn't make sense with the story. It's the Hollywood Tower Hotel. So they came up with the clever fiber optics where it glows Tower of Terror over the Hollywood Tower Hotel sign. So it's not literally something that exists in that world because that wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't make a fancy metal sign with that name. But
yeah,
you know what it's called.
And the fiber optic kind of spooky is motivated by the Twilight Zone aspect. So it's still story driven. I think that's quite strong here. So maybe something along that. In all these years, I've never come across that word diegetic. I'm going to use that in the
Mostly
future.
described music in film. Diegetic music is music that is in the environment of the film versus the score is music that is added there for the viewer's experience.
Right,
it's so educational, like this, we should be charging.
Like Mr. Blue, like Baby Groot dancing at the end is diegetic because it's in the world and the characters are interacting with the music and we can hear it too. That's a good example.
Okay.
Done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got Dan Proppa with the secret genetics lab of Mount Mystery. After a series of power cuts, the townspeople of Mystery all but left it abandoned. 35 years later, the genetics lab seems active again. What did happen to the professor? Dare you figure out Mount Mystery?
This is so strong because there's only 4 lines of text and the image, and together I get it in one go. I don't know the answer, but I am curious, and it is mysterious. So to me, that's like, and I'm getting lots of kind of Twister, Back to the Future vibes from this, and why not? Like, that works. And, lab closed. Mount Mystery, welcome.
I would love a movie about a time machine that only works if you throw it into a tornado. I would love that so much.
But the tornado has to have sharks, right?
Aquatic life optional.
That's science. I think the strongest thing about this one is the use of props to tell the story. Because you've got kind of the traditional American welcome to our town sign next to a generator, next to a pylon which is sideways, next to electrical effects, and just between those you've got the setting, which is like small town America, you've got the technology aspect, and the electricity is, danger, and that's all conveyed. You probably wouldn't even need to read the explanation to at least understand that aspect of the backstory. So that's really clever.
I think it's very interesting that it's such a bright, colorful scene, which is probably very hard to pull off to make it look mysterious. But I think with all those props, it works very well. Also very interesting that the town was called Mount Mystery just by accident. So it's not really, it was not really a mystery. Yeah.
That's a good point. But maybe the juxtaposition of great weather and bright lighting, it's almost like those nuke towns that are so like bright, colourful, but they're like, it's more like a sinister, like the juxtaposition of the two moods is something. Right. I mean, It would be grey in England, as we were saying, but if this was in Florida,
well, it has a little bit of that original Jaws ride feel, right? Or maybe even Big Thunder Mountain, where here's a town that's not active because something's going on, and we're kind of taking a journey through that town. So with that in mind, if you're in that town and you're living in that town, if the weather's bad, the weather's bad. If the weather's good, the weather's good.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
It's a good day for a mystery.
Right.
All right. Up next, we have the Captain Pan with Base Camp. Before the challenge of reaching the summit of Mystic Mountain, take a breath at Base Camp, recharge the batteries, pick up souvenirs, and get those rations at the variety of camp stores. Inspired by base camps of mountains, my idea sees rows of tents forming in the city-like atmosphere cliffside, with tents providing a variety of services from shopping to food, all under a series of flags from the multitudes of climbers under the shadow of Mystic Mountain's summit.
This is very Expedition Everest, right? That kind of Nepal setting. I think this is more of like a land, like a whole land. I think rather than specifically the entrance.
Yes.
But I think the setting's very clear because you've got the usage of the tents and the prayer flags and the mountains in the background. You could probably have fake snow on the ground so it permanently feels chilly and like you're up in the mountains. But I think it's a very rich sort of adventurous setting because when you're designing something for a theme park, you want somewhere most people wouldn't be able to encounter in their everyday lives, and going up to Mount Everest is something that only very few people get to do. So the theme is very exotic and exciting and adventurous. So nothing aspect's very good.
It's like it's call to action, isn't it? With this, you're in a base camp and it's very easy to understand and take in the story. Why it's mystic, we don't know. That's my only criticism. I'm not getting the mysterious. I'm getting the call to action, like what's up there, but the actual mystery, I don't know if I'm getting that exactly. But the setting is perfect with like you say, like the prayer flags, is that what they're called, and the sign and the tents. It's
If they ever needed to expand Animal Kingdom, they could just do this to the back of the Everest Mountain. Put the attraction in some other building, right? But like you could use the back of the mountain as a whole other mountain set dressing. You know what I mean? Because if you've ever parked in Animal Kingdom, you'll know what the back of that mountain looks like, and it does not look like a mountain. It looks real
big
interesting.
brown office block.
All right. Up next, we have Lewis Brownuk with the Alpine Cave. Wander through the dramatic rocky landscape and across the rickety bridge high up in the Alps before discovering the enchanted secrets of Mount Mystery. Scent requirements fresh and invigorating with a subtle touch of musty cavern and burning lanterns. And we've got this great little audio. He gives a little bit of a soundtrack to kind of go along with it, which I will, I think is, you guys can't hear it, but they can hear it. So.
Interesting.
I listened to it before.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you all went through it. I liked it. Yeah. I liked having a little bit of a theme with it. It goes a long way to have a little bit of music.
Yeah.
I think what's good about this is like it is a mystery because he hasn't explained pretty much anything that's going on. So you're, as a judge looking at it as a guest would, because you've got kind of steampunk cogs dug into the mountain. Inside the mountain itself are these glowing crystals. So I want to know what the hell is going on in this setting. So that means it probably will work for a guest.
Yes.
It's certainly strange. I think the sort of cheeky music definitely makes it mysterious. Like, ooh, let's go and find out what's in here. So I think,
it's just visually intriguing. And I think as an entrance so far, it's more focused on the entrance than some others. And I really like how they just made it interesting from a visual perspective, and then you just want to go there and see what's in there, even if you have no clue about the backstory or anything.
Exactly. It looks very inviting, like you want to go inside, it's drawing you in, and that's what a good entrance does, because you want to draw people into your land rather than scare them off or confuse them.
Liam, what scent would you add into a musty cavern and burning lantern to give it that fresh, invigorating kind of mountain air quality?
Well, AromaPrime, who I work for, we have a fresh air smell, which should be quite appropriate for a fresh atmosphere. We also have a frosty smell that could kind of go with the idea of it being high up, if it is high up. I notice on the design that there's on one side it looks like it's daytime, and on the other side it's nighttime.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So the time of day could be an influence on the smell. I'm not sure how it works in this design, but that's another intriguing aspect to the mountain, I suppose.
So many mysteries going on. I mean,
Yeah.
It would be really cool if that circle would like turn around, rotate,
yes.
Oh.
and then it turns into night or something like that. So it's like a clock.
That would be very cool. I'm very mysterious.
Yeah, imagine like an indoor land where you could control the day lighting and the night lighting.
No, outdoor. I want to see it outdoor.
Oh, okay. Well,
That-
that's a bit tougher.
I'm also interested by the height. It looks like they're quite high up, and there's some kind of either a big ice block or a waterfall on the left, and then something else. The shadowy people are kind of pointing to things. That another mystery to the design.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to message him and say, seriously, what the hell's going on? We need to know. What is the secret? What is the mystery? Write an essay. Thank you.
It's certainly mysterious. Like, what is going on?
All right, up next we have Mr. Bell Captain with the Tourist Trap. Mount Mystery is a land themed around a roadside tourist trap deep in the woods. Mount Mystery's claim to fame is the magnificent eternal burning tree. A once massive tree was split and set alight by a mysterious lightning strike decades ago and continues to burn with an eerie pink and purple glow. This burning tree stretches up and above the pathway entering into the land and serves as a focal point for guests as they enter the land and wander the paths and trails of the surrounding forest. Nearby rest of the main museum gift shop for the Mount Mystery tourist attraction, featuring oddities and curios found in the woods and mountain caves.
Oh, cool. So this is like a different mystery. This is almost like Stranger Things kind of mystery. It's not like it's kind of like Bigfoot and aliens and all those kind of. Hey, I really like this. This is cool.
I think in the entry we talked about a ride inside where you encounter a thunderbird, so that kind of like mythical creature. But yeah, I like that juxtaposition of you've got sort of a mythological being, but then you've got sort of like really down and dirty Route 66 roadside tourist trap. And I think that could be really fun for a designer to tackle, because you can have big billboards, the lighting could be like those really colorful like popcorn outdoor lights. Like nothing has to match. It can look cobbled together, like they're just trying to get your business, get your attention,
like Dino Land.
Yes, it all comes back to Dino Land. Maybe it's an obsession, but yeah, everything. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of Dino Land.
For every really great mystery in life, somebody wants to make a keyring out of it. So this just seems perfect for both sides of it. Like, you don't even have to pretend that you're cashing in on it with merchandise, because that's what the people would do. That's diegetic, right? Am I using it right?
Yeah, you could have diegetic theme park merch, because they're trying to sell you like, hey, come inside this Mount Mystery because there's a big Thunderbird in there. So yeah, it's diegetic merch.
Diet
it's like, guys,
Jet
it's part of the story. They
just Diet Jet Hick. Diegetic.
okay.
There you go. You got it. You nailed it. It is a new vocabulary. We've all just witnessed Sarah learn vocabulary. Isn't this great?
It's just like, guys, it's part of the story. They rip you off with the popcorn. That's what they do.
That's not us. That's the characters charging $14.
If that isn't Dino Land, I don't know what is.
People like, it's multi-level.
Diegetic rip-off. Nice.
Hey, that's a good band name.
Diegetic Ripoff is so good. Yes.
After this, we'll start a band and we'll be called Diegetic Ripoff.
Exactly.
I'm the only girl. What the Black Eyed Peas?
All right, up next we have designs by Megan with Mysterious Manor. The largest estate on the hill has ever been known. The largest estate on the hill has been known as Mount Mystery by the locals for many years. The wife of the first owner disappeared, and many say her body is still on the property. The second owner, William Poe, grew mad and became obsessed with the mystery novels and renovated the house with trick doors and a rose garden maze. Townfolk say that they see figures moving in the windows among the grounds, but William lived alone. After William's death, stories of the manors caught the attention of several societies, and Mount Mystery has turned into a tourist attraction. Its main attraction is a rotating collection of escape rooms. But don't get too comfortable. The wife's body was never been found, and many locals say she's still somewhere on the estate.
Oh,
This is really cool. It reminds me of, does anyone know the Winchester Mystery House?
I was just about to say this. And I'm just suddenly coming to light how many facets the word mystery has. Like, gosh, I didn't even realize there's so many like genres under this one word. It's a very good word. Very well picked there, Rob.
Let's learn vocabulary with Sarah.
Hey.
Mystery.
I love it. I think this, because I'm thinking the same thing. As reading through these entries, Sarah, I was just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how many different ways the word mount and the word mystery were interpreted.
Mystery.
It's incredible. It's awesome. I love art.
And this one doesn't have a mountain in sight, but it still works because, you know, big fancy houses have to have big fancy names. And, you know, it's like, yes, this is called Mount Mystery.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
I love...
Perfect
And
for a
the
monogram. It's just begging for a monogram. And I've got the MM here on the gates. It's just...
Yeah. Oh, thanks for pointing out that monogram.
I really like the design. I just wish that the little scribble on the top right would be bigger, because I think that's a bit more... I almost feel like it's more charming than the one they chose to show the biggest.
Oh,
Maybe it's just me. Yeah, the other gate. I feel like that little drawing should be a bit bigger because that looks really cool.
It's huge, though. That gate is gigantic.
Yeah.
very
It's
cool.
certainly mysterious.
And
It's
think
the
Liam
goods.
will-
I think it's the goods entrance of Mount Mystery. I love this. I think it's actually perfect for escape rooms. Like, this is like really well thought
Yeah.
out because
And I love the idea of that
I think
rose,
Liam will
that rose
appreciate-
garden, that
Sorry.
rose garden maze being like a place to maybe like have a virtual queue where you're spending your time waiting, actually like roaming this giant, you know, rose garden, you know, wacky, weird mystery rose garden. I love that. I love that little added accent. I love when big attractions have fun stuff to do around it. Like Flight of Passage has all that activity to do. Flight of Passage could have a virtual queue because you could spend an hour or two just roaming around poking stuff, you know, and that's what's kind of fun about it.
yeah.
And I think one thing, I think Liam will as well, is they were talking about what smell there will be, and they were talking about rose as kind of, but then said that's a clue to where the wife might be buried. That is so cool.
Yes.
That's cool, yeah.
I do love that. How would you...
Oh, and terrifying.
It would have to be like one corner of the rose garden has like some distinct feature and it smells like roses. Only there, or something like that.
I feel like
it's
it
like-
smells like corpses. I'm like, oh my god.
No, don't even joke about that, because Liam sent me the sampler of their smells, and there was nice ones, and then there was things like fish market and corpse and other
Oh.
things
Oh.
like, and they're potent.
Liam, can you send me
Really?
one of those, man? Ooh, I want to do a video of me just smelling them all.
Doing shots of them.
Yeah, make sure you save a nice one for last, because you need a palate cleanser.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
It reminds me of the Haunted Mansion because I was watching a behind-the-scenes video in the graveyard where they said they grew garlic near the skunk gravestone,
Oh,
which I
really?
thought was interesting.
Okay.
So cool.
Yeah, I really
Really?
liked how it's the kind of thing that we would consider when we're advising on smells for attractions, how the smells can support the story and the placement of the smells and how that kind of works when people are going around, at what point they'll realize something that can link to the story. They were saying how there would be the smell of antique books, meadow breeze, wood to enforce the background of the historic house. So it's nice that they're enhancing the feeling of its age and the history that it might have. And then, of course, the rose idea, which is really nice. And it's something that you might just find incidentally. It's not in your face. It's a little detail that might catch you off guard.
Diegetic, right?
It is. It is.
And it's
This
sort
is-
of like tragically, almost not romantic as in love, but romantic as in, you know, she's not a bad presence. Why did she die or not? You know, why is she still here? She's a rose. She's not a bad smell. You know, she's this like, it's kind of like she's trapped in here, and like, why? I think it's kind of like, yeah, a little bit Haunted Mansion, but it's less dark than that. It's almost kind of like sad, and I think it's very intriguing. And Pascal knows I hate like haunted houses. I get really scared, so I think I could go in this one.
But do you hate escape rooms? No, right? You like escape rooms?
Oh, it's a bit claustrophobic, but I think I could.
Yeah, I would particularly.
It's a tough industry to be in when you're a total wuss. But
I really do love that concept of it being more tragic than scary, as if something happened to her that he had to hide her death. It's not something that he did to her, but something happened to her, and
maybe the house happened
right,
to her.
something you know what I mean, and it's a tragedy. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while.
And actually, usually, if you don't give people the answers, it can be more effective because it forces people to come up with an answer in their own head. And that can make... Yes, exactly. I mean, Tumblr would be ablaze with Mount Mystery and the dead wife.
It reminds me, this discussion, it reminds me of Phantom Manor and Befurbishment, when there were so few story details and you just had to kind of work out what was happening in the story from what you could see. People had all sorts
exactly. And I think that they took their favourite theory and were like, yep, that was the official one the whole time.
Yeah.
You guys nailed it.
That was definitely it. There's a film where the house is the wife.
What film is that? The wife.
Is it Monster House? I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Where it's like, she's gone. She is, his wife, but whoever saw her, that could be another angle on the
she's a total monster.
And she traps people in there. She's like a Venus flytrap house. Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
I like that.
Up next, we've got Ghost Hostile with 99 with Icy Base Camp. They call it Mount Mystery for a reason. In the abandoned base camp, swept by bitter cold winds, a strange blue ice has taken over the rocky earth like lichen. Groans and creaks can be heard from the ice when stepped on. On the old provision shed roof, the spruce trees and even the signs, the ice hangs in wispy strands like Spanish moss swaying in the sharp breeze. The ice has left cracks and boulders from which a warm stream of sweet, strong scent of cinnamon and wintergreen. Large icicles hang from Mount Mystery sign, but the water that drips down them is quite warm. In the distance towers the mountain itself, the blue ice reaching down from the peak. At night, the ice glows a bright blue, shifting and pulsating as though it were alive. Apologies for my dyslexia.
Ooh.
I really like this theme. I like the blue ice idea, especially the floor that makes sounds when you walk on it. I can imagine like an interactive floor that actually makes those sounds when you walk into the land. That really, like, maybe you've seen like these videos of like this, I don't know if it's a Chinese bridge with like a screen, and then sometimes the bridge cracks when they step on it, and then they all something like that you have like actual cracks and stuff in the floor, and it makes these sounds. That would be really awesome to have like this.
Disney Parks has been playing with that a lot lately, particularly with Smuggler's Run is a really great example of very different types of flooring that kind of do a lot of storytelling, from the gangway bridge to get onto the Falcon to when you're actually on the fountain, and all the floors have a little bit of a weird give to it, like it's all paneling and framework, and so I do love. Because people are always looking at their feet all the time, especially all the socially awkward ones. And so give them something fun to look at,
Yeah, they're already looking down at their phone. May as well look at the floor.
This one reminded me of... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say it reminded me of, War of the Worlds, where like the red tendrils are sort of taking over everything.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of that aspect of it. But I think if you want to have it be a malicious presence, because if you see it blue, you might just think it's just normal ice. But if you want to give the impression there's something terrifying and maybe alien to it, you could have maybe the sign being like crushed by the ice or some kind of damage, and you can see the damaging effect the ice is having on the environment, and then this is a malignant presence in the environment and I should be scared, rather than it's just cold.
And it's alive. Is
it a bad presence though? Because it's also saying it's cinnamon, sweet cinnamon, and wintergreen smells, and it's alive. I don't know if it's necessarily. I mean, that's something that I think would have to be determined because it's right now. What is mysterious though is ice that sways like Spanish moss. I think that's really interesting because then it's like it looks like ice, but it's not. And it's that other. It looks like ice, but it's warm. What is this? And I think that's really interesting.
That's a cool mystery. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned the cinnamon when you're trying to work out the nature of this mystery, because sometimes in scare mazes we'll use nice smells, particularly around the beginning, to kind of create a false sense of security, which is something that's happening here. And I also like how it's a diegetic smell. How they said
well
how
done.
the ice,
Ding, ding, ding. Keyword.
how the ice has made cracks in the rocks and the smells coming out of there. It's nice that it's incorporated into the environment.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
Agreed.
All right. Up next, we have Alec Alerna with a Scooby-Doo adventure. Scooby and the gang are off to solve another mystery, and this time they have found themselves in Mont Manor, locals known as Mount Mystery. Rumor has it that within the stone walls lurk a werewolf ready to hunt anyone who sets foot inside. Will you help Mystery Inc. solve the mystery of Mont Manor, or will you become a feared werewolf's next Scooby snack?
Yeah, another interpretation of mystery. I know it's kind of like, it's still like mysterious, supernatural, but Scooby-Doo, of course.
Perfect,
great IP.
IP, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect
Yeah.
IP for this theme.
And can I just say, this is beautifully presented. I really like the way this one's presented. The image, the way it's overlaid, the way it's almost like architectural with the font choice is actually really important and can sway a
and most
delivery.
importantly, the way that this is designed, the mountain itself is very forced perspective in how it could be constructed.
Yes.
Makes it a very practical kind of like Beast Castle and Magic Kingdom sort of, you know, you've got like 4 layers of forced perspective to put that mountain behind, which makes it, you know, awesome.
Perfect.
Definitely. I
The
think
only thing... Sorry.
what I do to heighten this is, you know, Scooby-Doo's a cartoon, and what you want to do is make an environment that you wouldn't see in your everyday life. And all the graffiti and the tags and the references to the Scooby-Doo gang is really cool, but maybe you could use the architecture and kind of cartoonify it a bit, maybe giant gargoyles either side of the fence to turn it into somewhere that's really iconic, somewhere you want to take photographs of, and then something that lets you know, oh, I'm going into a real Scooby-Doo mystery. I think that could be a cool way to take this to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also, something's going on with this graffiti here because mystery is looks like Mystery Inc. So did they do this? Is that diegetic? Why would they do that? Who's named it mystery and why? If they were called to a mystery, is it kind of like the bat symbol, like you have to spray their logo and then they come to it? Did they, you know what I mean? Did they do that? I don't, like, that's the only thing that if I cover that up, I can kind of get like there's this abandoned place and everybody's kind of tagged it, and then someone's like, something's not right about that, let's call Mystery Inc. That's the only thing for me is kind of throwing it off a little bit in terms of theme. But I think
that's
that
true. Like, did they come and graffiti the place? Because then it kind of makes them into criminals themselves.
They are hippies.
That's true. And one dog.
Yeah, there you go. This to me is a very, very. I can see this, you know, being maybe even like a shoot 'em up for kids, for like a younger generation. The call to action, it actually lines up really well, and the manor gates and the tags, aside from the aforementioned mystery, kind of bring it together. This place is abandoned and it's old, and there's the layers to it. And I think that's pretty good storytelling.
It's nice how they considered the tire tracks as well, because that's not necessarily something you would think of immediately, but that's a nice way to draw you in and suggest that someone's arrived before you, and that might be something.
That's a really nice piece of storytelling. I think floors a lot of times are overlooked when you design something like that, at least in some places. And this is really nice detail with the tracks on the floor. I think the van is very iconic. It could be a bit more prominent the way it is set up. so that it screams Scooby-Doo from far away already.
Oh,
But
that's
other than that,
what it is. You park. You have the Mount Manor graffiti done on the wall, and you park the van, the Mystery Inc. van, in front of the graffiti wall, so that it's Mount with Mystery Inc. as the framing device.
Oh,
Solved it.
Mhm.
there
Nicely
you go.
done.
Maybe this would be better in that case if the wall was stone at the bottom and the iron came through the top. That way you can have your graffiti, but we can also see through with the van, and you can, everybody gets to see as much as possible, and then there's the manor and there's the mountain. That might be a bit of a, because right now we're controlling the sight line, but to the forest, really. If you could open that, that's what I would do anyway. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
and also, if they were parked just inside the gate, little character photo op right there before you join the queue, that would be lovely.
A big part of me
Nice.
also would have
That'd
loved
be
to
cool.
see the van crashed into the gate with the mount part of the sign landing on the van, like crushing it, and like covering up most of it except for where it said mystery. Like they crashed into the sign and turned the sign and their car into a combined Mount Mystery kind of signage.
Oh.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's relevant that you're thinking of diegetic ways to introduce the name, because it is interesting how with this intellectual property they already have a promistory word in Mystery Inc., which could be a problem if they're going to have this separate place called Mount Mystery. So it's nice that the van might be incorporated in some way.
That
Mystery
would suffice
Incorporated.
them.
Yeah.
I feel like this
Oh
is
my
like an
gosh,
episode of
I
Pee Wee
literally
Herman,
a second.
and diegetic is our word of the day, and every time someone says it, we should all scream.
Drink.
Drink.
Up next, we have...
Okay, everyone takes a shot every time we say diegetic.
Yeah, that's the Imagineering drinking game. Next, we have Straw Dog Design with Crystal Cavern. The entrance tunnel features lit lettering, jumping fountains, and a solitary blinking light. The light helps communicate that there is a human presence interacting with the strange organic occurrences of the land. Is this a warning? A scientific instrument? A monitoring station? We'll find out more when we get inside the land. Another mysterious touch is a shallow dome inside the tunnel filled with strange and unfamiliar fiber optic constellations. As they emerge from the short tunnel, guests cross a bridge and choose the next step of their adventure in Mount Mystery. The scent in the area, thinking jasmine, perhaps some orange, as guests smelling something mysterious and garden-like to contrast the heavy stone entry and pair with the mysterious kinetics of the entry.
Cool.
What I think is a cool angle is aliens are here, but they're not the intruder like we are. The light, like that's like another angle on the alien. Maybe we're the mystery to them. That's kind of like the weird switch around I was getting where it says like the blinking light helps to communicate their human presence interacting with the strange organic occurrences.
Oh. Yeah,
That
that's
might
a clever
be-
twist.
Yeah.
Because I read it as, there are humans there and they found this weird mountain and now they're interacting with it. But yeah, what if it was like a warning system to whoever's place it is that it's like, well, there's humans on our turf. I like the design of it. It's very vaporwave.
What kind of alarm do you want to go off
glowing
Rick, when
lights,
people show
fountains.
up? Well, I don't know. Some jumping water and a blinking light. Also, a dome full of constellational stars.
Perfect. Attention grabbing, especially at night.
It absolutely
Yeah.
is. Like, yeah.
I might have interpreted it all wrong, but I think if that's what I got from the first sentence, if that is true, that is a cool switch round. If not, beautiful fiber optics either way.
I love those jumping water fountains.
just-
I love that multi-tiered jumping water. That's like Epcot 2.0 right there.
I was gonna say it's like Epcot, my home, my love.
And Rob, this is the scent winner. This is a scent winner, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, let me talk about that.
Yeah, so what I liked about this one is in their design, they said that the jasmine and orange garden-like smell is to contrast the heavy stone entrance. And it's a good thing to consider how a smell is going to interact or relate to the physical environment. And I like that they were thinking of the kind of weight of the visuals and the lightness of the smell. And it's also nice that they thought about that contrast in terms of transition into a new place. So you see this big, giant, heavy thing, and then you kind of you're full of excitement and wonder, and then you're kind of calmed as you go through, and you encounter these pleasant aromas. So it's a nice consideration of your emotions as well. So there are lots of little things that kind of come into play with how they've thought about the smell and the physical environment, which I liked.
Yeah, it's a cool contrast.
And it's kind of nice, like jasmine and orange as well. They're an interesting mixture that, when put together, would be reasonably alien. Not too unusual, but not something you would immediately think to mix together.
So it's like blue milk, where it kind of tastes familiar, but the combination is like, what is that?
I love that reasonably alien, Liam. Like I'm reasonably alien. Like, who isn't? You know. I really like that. It's really cool.
I dig it. Congratulations, Straw Dog Design. That is a really fun entry. I really love it. All right, up next, we have Imagineer lands with the Magnetic Mount Mystery. The overall concept of the land is a mountain with unusual geothermal and magnetic properties, and the small town of scientists at its base who both study and protect it from the world. The idea for this almost entirely came from the alliteration of Mount Mystery, which then led me to think magnetic Mount Mystery. Those words led me to the story and land layout, which is a bit sci-fi and a bit supernatural thriller. This is backstory. Best backstory, Rob. Can you dive us a little bit deeper into this?
Okay, it's all included on the next page, but from what I remember, it's a land where they've got this Mount Mystery, who's got this unique magnetic properties, and it's kind of sci-fi bordering on supernatural, and everyone who lives there, they can get their power from the mountains. So you're going to have lots of fun design elements with, power generators, a power plant. I think it's included with a breakdown of what the attraction would be, but it just was a really cool backstory idea, because that's something that you can plug into the design, the restaurant, the attractions, the lighting, the landscaping, like every single thing. You can make design decisions based purely on the backstory, which makes it really strong. Like you can imagine all these electrical cables connecting things up, plugged directly into the mountain. You could have lots of glowing lights. You could have kind of a combination of industrial and natural feel. So yeah, that's what I really liked about the backstory.
And I think what's super interesting about the attraction itself for this one is that there's no real alien mystery. It's a scientific mystery, and the coaster itself is being constantly propelled by magnetic pulses. Magnetic pulses of energy that are like rocketing through the caverns that you're investigating, which I think is so fun, and something that, everything else, the attractions are always influenced by some energy force, by some alien or some explosion or this or that. And I love the idea of Earth's magnetic energy just pulsating you and throwing you around a big cavern like a ping pong ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a former scientist, I also love the idea of having like a lab in there with like a lot of magnet science experiments and stuff like that. I would actually love to see more of this concept in the entrance, to have some sort of like visual representation of the magnetism in the entrance, because there are like some really cool, easy things you can do with like this iron dust, for example, that makes these crazy shapes depending on how you how strong the magnet is and stuff like that. It would be really cool to incorporate in there.
Oh yeah, true.
Like I think like iron filings, because when you use a magnet, it turns really spiky, kind of like
ferrofluid design, like ferrofluid tubes would be fun to see all around.
Yeah,
just have these things moving at all times.
See, if you had the name of the land on the rock, and then you turned on the electromagnet, and all these like spiky iron filings spelt out Mount Mystery, and then it kind of disappeared again.
Yeah.
I believe they have a wall clock that's a ferrofluid wall clock that does that, and so to see that effect on a larger scale would be like mind blowing.
And it also give it the angle. It's like an energy that's existing without it's itself. and that would give the illusion. Certainly, that's really interesting angle. And can I also just say, from a graphics point of view, this is beautifully presented. Like a really nice title block. You can see the date on there, who made it. Like, this is really important aspect that lots of people drop. They might have a great idea, but if you can't present it and communicate it, then I think it gets lost. And I think this is a really strong one. Pascal, like, I'm obsessed with this.
I know.
All right. Up next, we have Antonote Importa with Indian Village, the Legend of Mount Mystery. The entrance of this area is based on the traditional villages of East India, also featuring some adventurous props such as Indian gods, old temples, local markets, etc. The idea of this area is to serve as an entrance of the building that goes to the stairs of the Mount Mystery. The lighting in the area is very mystical. It features several old lights inside local buildings and includes some torches in the center of the square and some special lights located in curious places such as the eyes of the statue.
That's so cool. I love the nighttime view with the lights. It's very Animal Kingdom. And
so I'm sorry.
I was going to say, right, instead of like just being like a entryway portal like I'd envisaged, this is kind of the land is an entrance to the mountain in a sense. But I love the Indian idea.
Yeah,
it gives you a really nice opportunity to use like beautiful architecture everywhere, like they did in this drawing. I think that's a really great idea. It's probably an expensive entrance to have a full land as an entrance, but nice.
Just stick a gift shop in it, then it pays for itself.
It's very Epcot though, like in terms of like a sliver of a village. Like it's like a long corridor village-esque, which I think is manageable, but expensive.
Yeah, if you put it indoors too, you could control the lighting more, and then you can also steer people's eyes towards where they're supposed to walk. That picture on the right is really, really nice and very moody. And I think that if it was in a dome, going back to what you're saying about Epcot, like the Mexico Pavilion in World Showcase, the way that because it's domed and because it's night, they literally steer you to where you're supposed to be looking. And I think that's something that could be used here. The only piece of mystery I'm getting from this is the glowing eyes of the statue, which obviously I have no idea what that's doing, and that's very mysterious. But the rest of it, I don't know if it's mysterious, beautiful, but I want a little bit more mystery bringing to this. Maybe the statue, if the statue was over the door and it was glowing, then it would be like, there it is, there's the mystery. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like, you've got to decide on what the mystery is beyond just being the name of the mountain, because you could either have maybe like the village has been abandoned, and so you kind of have that creepy urban exploration vibe of where is everybody? I shouldn't be here, but it's kind of cool that I am. Or lean more into, the statues are possessed by some kind of curse, and then put that in the design. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like, if it's going to be a mystery themed land, we need to have more of that mystery as you're going in. Just to slightly.
But beautiful courtyard and so immersive. Like, you are definitely not in the car park anymore, are you? Like, you're in it.
I think there's more details on the next slide as well. About what the smells would be, the inspirations. It's a really well thought out, well-rounded entry.
Interesting. I think my mom's making me dinner right now, and we're having curry. So I'm like, I can smell the image. I was like,
I have such a craving for curry right now. Sarah, can I come over for dinner?
How long
so you got diegetic smells?
Diegetic smells, of course.
My family are watching the Temple of Doom tonight, and we're having Indian food.
I love that even dinners at your house have to be themed.
Okay.
I found, I'm not sure if they mean scent, but they said flavor on their design page. Which,
I think it might be a translation thing.
Possibly. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting way of describing scent anyway. And I found it interesting that they included gold in that. I think if you can have an effective smell that accompanies gold, especially when you're looking at it, that would be quite magical.
Yeah, I think if you manage to find a smell that you smell it and you're like, that's gold, then there's someone in the White House right now who would buy the entire supply.
You'd be on the airport dog sniffer team. It's like fast as you can say, I can smell gold. Great.
It actually makes me think of those golden bars. I don't know. They're called golden bars, I think.
Up next, we have Echo Lake Art with Whalebone Atoll, another scent winner. And we'll flop over here to this a little bit of the... Rob, can you take us through the volcanologist? Give us a little bit of the information.
So I believe it's kind of based around someone who's started up a travel business, because in sort of the Victorian times, it was very fashionable to take cruises around places that were sort of mysterious or dangerous. So, and this island, I think it can only be approached by submarine, which is a very cool idea.
Ooh.
So I really like the setting of it. I think the only thing is, like, if it was by submarine, then are you going to get that beautiful visual because you're under the water? Or are you going to be able to view the island from a distance before getting your submarine and then maybe going into a dark ride or something along those lines?
That would be a nice forced perspective opportunity again, if you can only see it from far away. And then you take the submarine into the mountain, so you never see it up close.
Exactly. Like the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea walkthrough in Paris, where you see the submarine, kind of like the miniature version, and in your head, you're going in there. And then by the time you've gone down the stairs, you're in a completely different part of the park. But because your brain's been tricked, you're like, yeah, I'm inside the submarine, even though it's so much bigger in the bit you're exploring. So you could have the volcano, you go in a submarine, and if you emerge in somewhere with lava and rocks, your brain will say, yeah, I'm inside of that thing I just saw.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also the sunken ships would be great for the submarine to journey through. And the low lit water would be great, so you could pick out bits, again, you want people to see. It would be really scary. Yeah. So that means it's good, in my opinion. Because if I'm scared of it, it means it's good. Beautiful colours.
As well.
Oh, yeah. The artwork is just beautiful.
Liam, you picked this one as a scent winner. Can you take us through that journey?
Yes. Well, this one says it's got sea salt, musk, cedarwood, and orange, which was a dangerous enchantment that lured explorers. Which I like that they included orange in it, which is perhaps something that could lure guests in. And I like that, like the guests, the explorers were also lured in. So if you are aware of the story beforehand and you sniff that smell when you're going into it, then you're put in the shoes of the explorers. Like if the smell is literally luring you in, like the explorers. I like that you can become one of those characters through the scent. And I also think it's an interesting scent selection as well, because it's kind of salty and musky, but also pleasant, which provides its own mystery.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting combination. But yeah, I like the idea that if they say, maybe like, oh, before they met their doom, there was oranges, and that's part of this backstory or pre-show, and then you smell it, you're like, oh, I'm in for it now, like, abandon all hope.
Yeah, it's really cool because it's not just setting the scene and thematic placemaking, it's telling the story and bringing you in the story. So I think that's really, really strong, and I can see why you picked that as a scent winner, because it's a call to action.
It reminds me of another attraction. It might have been the dungeons, but there's an attraction that told ghost stories, and there was one about like a girl that sold lavender. So the story goes along, and then suddenly when the guests can smell lavender at a certain point, they'll freak out because they think the ghosts arrived.
That's so cool.
It's another diegetic example.
Oh, drink.
Don't wait to hydrate, folks.
Actually, we used to live in a cottage, and we were told that it belonged to this old man who always smoked a pipe. And on certain days, you could smell pipe smoke, even though he'd been gone for years. So, being a gullible kid, my parents told me, it was like, oh, it's his ghost walking around the house. When later on I realized it's probably just like a hot day and it's coming out of the wood, because I mean that stuff gets in everything. But still, I thought that was quite a cool thing. I'm like, oh yeah, the old guy's walking around again.
Up next, we have Thomas D3 with Jurassic Volcano. You are about to embark on the best expedition of your life, Mount Mystery experience of your life. Mount Mystery experience the scream of the volcano as you plummet directly into the face first on Volcano Dive, and explore the beautiful rivers on river tours. And make sure you feel the rush from the canopy on board the Jurassic Coast. And the small explorers will love the force the volcano on Expedition Volcano. Mount Mystery, a heart plummeting experience for anyone who dares to join and find your true self. And it has a little bit of artwork here with some music, which I'll throw in here.
Some teaser music. No. I think this is really interesting. I think what would be good to clarify, from just a theme designer point of view, and then from the guests, is, who lives in this place, and therefore that tells you who put the signs up, how to design it, and things like that. Because signs are kind of leading towards, danger. I'm thinking like thrill seeker is maybe an angle you could go down, where it's this really dangerous volcano, but people who are after an adrenaline rush are doing tours where you can go really close to the lava or you can explore it. So all the signage would be about telling you how dangerous it is and kind of look a bit maybe graffiti street art style. But yeah, if you can pin down who's putting up these signs, who lives there, then that helps inform every other aspect of the design and then the land.
I noticed that there's also a volcano in the background, I think, and there's this ride tower shooting out of it. It might be nice if the volcano were a little bit higher than the sign at the front, just so you could see this impressive feature. Although I think the drop tower is quite alluring as well.
It's finally the Fire Mountain roller coaster that's been rumored for decades now.
There it is.
I think they had they noted with the smells as well. They wanted clear, musty volcano and the smell of fear to set the scene and make it scary and fun.
Smell of fear.
What would fear smell like?
A volcano is like sulfur,
My sweat.
Right? Oh.
Sweat is the good one.
So it's going to smell like eggs and sweat.
Yeah. Volcano does smell like fear.
Ugh.
Up next, we have M Does Art with the Murdoch Mining Company. We have Murdoch Mining Company. We had it. Countless unfortunate deaths and disappearances mingled with strange occurrences caused by the desperate coal miners that were left to abandon whatever possessions they had to seek a much safer means of employment. Ruined and now destitute, the once wealthy Murdoch McConnell vanishes into the mine, said to have gone mad.
See, this is because there's layers of storytelling and in this implied history, because you've got one level where it's kind of Big Thunder Mountain Gold Rush mine, and then on top of that it got abandoned and reclaimed by kind of prohibition bootleggers. So you've got this 1920s sensibility you can layer on top of that. And one thing I love about theme parks is where you take two completely random ideas, well, not random but different, smush them together and then see how those two interact. And I don't think I've ever seen kind of 1920s jazz age, bootleg alcohol speakeasy mixed with Wild West gold mine. And I think that could be really cool how those two concepts interact.
Yeah, I love the idea of it being a little bit of that mobster scene from the Great Movie Ride combined with Big Thunder Mountain, combined with Haunted Mansion. Yes. You know what I mean? In that it's fun. It's fun to see like one of those, like a group of stereotypical mobster tough guys encounter something supernatural and then kind of see the reaction to that and experience that as part of the ride. Would be a very fun mix of genres that we have not seen. I was thinking the exact same thing when I was reading this.
And so on the sign where it says mystery, that's in blood. That's pretty dark. So
is that blood?
On the right, mystery. I mean, it's dripping.
And
I think
raspberry jam.
That it could be, if it smells of raspberry, then we know it's jam. But without the second slide, and I just looked at the first slide, mystery and blood kind of makes it pretty dark. But then if we have the mobsters with it, we can see it through their comedic lens, if you like, because they think they're the most tough, serious people. You know, they rule it. And then if they get scared, how do they interpret? And like, I don't like the look of this. You know what I mean? That kind of thing going on. And I think that could kind of make it a little bit more lighthearted. You know, they maybe create a threatening environment until they feel scared, and then we're all in this together kind of thing. That might be a cool, make it a bit more family.
I think in general it would be nice to have this layer of mobster a bit more of a design, because right now I just get the feel of abandoned mine shaft, and it would be really nice to have that second layer. What was that?
Bullet holes.
Bullet holes, yeah. Speakeasy in some kind.
And like an abandoned Tommy gun, like laying in that mining cart.
Exactly.
Or maybe like a Studebaker, like an old classic car parked outside. Maybe it's got busted tires and bullet holes like fleeing the police, barely outrun, the police, and this is their hideout. And then I think you've got, like you said, bouncing out the Wild West bit with the 1920s storyline.
The scents also combine the themes nicely, because they've got things like faint gunpowder and mountain rainwater. But I don't know how to pronounce this, but they have a whiff of pomade. Which I which is hair wax apparently, which is a nice link to the mobsters.
Yeah, that's best of both worlds. But I like how both themes are coming through. It's very clever.
Even if you're hanging out in a mine, abandoned mine, you gotta look glam. So
of course,
I appreciate that.
Next, we have Lisa with the Volcano Crater. The land hides many secrets. It is designed in two parts with two strong visual entities enhanced by sense. The first one is the surface of a desolate earth where toxic vapors rise from the lakes. Throughout the area, you'll find entrances to the rock leading to the second part of the land in the depths of the mountain. This one is entirely underground, where you will find lava lakes there. These two universes clash with colors and contrast, but also with smells. The toxic vapors on the surface provide a specific smell with a mix of sulfur acid that reminds us of chemicals. In the caves, the lava increases the temperature and the smell of the area with the same base of sulfur with a different aromas, something like burning moisture, iron, and minerals. What will you find on these unknown lands?
What is this image on the left? The bottles.
The scents, maybe. You can buy them. I don't know.
Cool.
Thinking ahead, monetize it. Like, you love the smell so much, now you can take it home. Little potion bottles by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think that's something interesting to consider in terms of presenting a design, because when I was reading it, I wasn't too sure if the the left bottle was actually the land and the water inside was what people would be walking around. That aside, I like the designs of the bottles. And I also like how they said how the different smells contrast. So it helps differentiate the environments when you go from one to the other.
Just to digress for a second, Pascal, in Europa Park, in the abandoned, the mine walkthrough attraction, but in there they pump in the smell of lemongrass. I'm not sure why. It smells beautiful. It's like a spa. But for a while, apparently they sold the lemongrass smell.
They also plan on, probably not allowed to tell, but they're also plan on selling.
No, you're not allowed to tell.
Other
this
smells.
Is on the internet.
Well, then never mind. I didn't say anything.
Well, to change the subject real quick.
Maybe
very mysterious of you. Very mysterious of you.
But I like the idea of selling smells. I think that's a cool concept, because I think smell that really awakens your memory. So you can go back decades just by smelling something. So it's a really great
reason for that. We have
souvenir.
More sensors for your nose than any other of your senses, which is crazy. So it has a really great link to memory creation, which is phenomenal.
That's another fact bomb. Like left, right, and center. People are getting taught.
I guess my question about this land is, what is the mystery? Other than, sure, we've got toxic fumes and smoky hot fumes, but like whose bottle is the mystery? Are there just like vessels laying around, and the mystery is who filled these vessels? Like, who's the person? What is the conflict of the land other than green versus red?
Yeah.
You know, like, what is the, you know, that's the only thing that left me.
Who's there? Yeah.
I mean, it's actually more questions than answers, and maybe that is the definition of mysterious. Sorry to say
Well,
it. Sorry to say it.
It's a mystery for us designers, but
If no one in the project that's working on it knows what the answer is, I think that's a bit too mysterious. But I think
like
that
the creation of the iPhone.
But I think bottling the smells is actually a really cool idea. And this red versus green is a cool idea. But yeah, I do agree with you there. I would like to know what the mystery is and why these are two like warring factions.
All right. Up next, we have Gang Sequoia with Lost Explorers. Now, you guys aren't going to be able to hear this, but I know you guys watched it. But it is this. Rob, do you want to take us through the concept of this one here real quick?
All right. So, well, I think it explains it in the video, but it's about, explorers finding the mysterious Mount Mystery through a landslide that uncovers it, the entrance, and inside there are people who are wearing sort of cobbled together armor out of found items. So it's a bit like the previous entry about a lost civilization. But yeah, I was so impressed with this video that looks really authentically like some 1920s explorers have gone out and come back and recorded their adventures. It's very good.
Yeah,
this reminds me of those brilliant films, Atlantis and The Road to El Dorado.
Yes.
And just blue sky for a second, it would be incredible if we were herding into some sort of show building for the transition into the land entrance, and we see the landslide happen somehow. Blue sky for a second.
Kind of like that would be Poseidon's Fury-ish level of like walk-through attraction, big effects.
And air conditioning.
Air conditioning good.
And it'd be amazing to see that, because you'd be like, okay, because you can definitely say from here and behind me is 20s Explorer, and in front of me is this completely different genre, and this clash of themes would be really strong in saying this is the uncovering of a civilization that's been sealed off and preserved in its wacky ways.
Yeah, and I was thinking of Hex in the queue. It's you're going through, and the stories for anyone who's not seen it, you're going through the stately home that they were renovating, and they busted through a wall and they found this secret lab, and you can see you're making a left turn going through where the workmen discovered the lab, the wall that's been busted through. And I think I was seeing parallels with this, where the entryway looks like you're walking through that moment in the story. You could have all the rock slid down, you could have maybe their equipment crushed, maybe some boots sticking out depending on how dark you wanted to get, because they said only a couple got away unscathed, and make it feel like a really dangerous, adventurous place to explore.
Yeah. Question is, how do we incorporate that movie in the waiting line in a diegetic way?
Oh, that's very, very. You're right, because you kind of
like in the
show
Indiana
maybe
Jones,
a TV
where they show
from some
like
dimension dropped into this place that happens to be playing a transmission talking about the place it dropped into. I mean, hey, if the door's open to anything happening, folks, I mean, why not, right?
It all happens in the movies or in the theme parks. So I think it's Indiana's the dark ride, the one that's in California.
Yep.
I haven't been on, and I really want to go on it. It seems, I think
there's something very similar to this that plays in the queue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Tony Baxter spoke about a diegetic approach to this, and I can't stop. Rob's like exhausted.
No, he's drunk.
No, I'm going to wet myself.
Don't wait to hydrate, Rob. I'm just helping you out.
Thank you.
In that queue, they approached this almost like a slideshow PowerPoint, or ye olde PowerPoint with the actual slides coming in. Like, this is what happened. But if I could, and I had an unlimited budget, I would say, how do we herd people into this room, and then they get to see it in real time? Like, they are with the actors who are excavating, and then boom, landslide happens, and you walk through. I think that would be
really
the most
cool.
literal version of "Here we go."
Absolutely. It'd be so
Hello?
cool if they could do that.
This presentation has diegetic smells as well. So they mention how
Stop
there are
it.
smells coming from, in the story, there are smells coming from the cavern structure, and then smells coming from the portals. So that's kind of similar to the other one that was a scent winner. This one was close because it's a similar idea in that when you come to experience that smell, it's like you're in the story that you heard about.
Yeah.
All right, up next we have Albertiveler, the Sakura Gate. This story goes that a monk on his quest to true knowledge and wisdom climbed the mountains one winter morning before sunrise. Although the morning sky was clear and the winds were quiet, he never returned from his journey. The people looking for him followed his tracks and found on the other side of the mountain something that could only be described as a miracle. In the snowy fields stood a cherry tree in full blossom. The monk, however, was never seen again. Although the people tell his story, the distant music can be heard if the winds are quiet and the skies are clear. They called it Mount Mystery. The Sakura Gate was built 100 years after Mount Mystery got its name. It's there to guard what is to believe the winter cherry tree. Inside the gate, a giant single lantern is lit. Day and night, in memory of the monk, guests are greeted by the sounds of distant music, the monotone song of Buddhist monks. The air is filled with the smell of pine, damp forest, heavy tones of incense, and a subtle note of cherry blossom.
This is
Beautiful.
such a beautiful piece of art, and then enhanced
Yeah.
by all the details that were mentioned. You know how it sounds. It just sounds like a really peaceful place, and like we were saying, it's a completely other take on mystery, because mystery doesn't always have to be, you know, a murder mystery and like a stormy night and it's scary. This is more of like I don't know, it's kind of a peaceful mystery that a monk's wandered and see maybe transformed into a tree, or maybe he's achieved enlightenment and has gone up to another plane.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
very-
Like maybe whatever he found was he didn't need to come back. Like there was no reason why he
that's
couldn't
cool.
come back. Like they were saying, the sky was clear, it was beautiful. There was no reason why he couldn't come back here safely, and he didn't. But maybe he found something better, which is intriguing. It's very positive.
Yeah.
Very calm and beautiful artwork, like you said. I love the artworks. Looks very. I love the huge lantern. I like when people play with size, and this also gives you a nice opportunity for some nice silhouettes in the front of the facade, especially at nighttime. It gives me like a Studio Ghibli feel, almost like a Spirited Away or something like that, where it's like mysterious, but it's not like brutal. Well, it can be at times, but it's more spiritual almost. I love it.
And the big lantern, as you were saying, is almost like that video game. This is what we're looking at now. This is you know, the weenie. Do I say weenie at this point? Is that another key word we can use?
Weenie,
the
absolutely.
Diegetic Weenies is a great band name.
So many bands.
Better than the what was it? Diegetic
It
ripoff?
sounds like an intestinal
Diegetic ripoff.
problem.
The face Sarah made.
Do you guys know what the symbols mean on the right side? Is that Mystery Mountain in Chinese or something, or does it mean soy sauce or something?
No, but
because that's the only thing that's missing for me is like the name of the land, the attraction, or the park, or whatever it will be. There's like nothing that except for that sign on the right that gives you any kind of name.
And I think we need, because the backstory is fantastic and that's there, but how do we get that into this scene so people walking through will be able to appreciate what they're walking through? I think the tricky thing with the setting is, if it's kind of in the relatively modern era, you can have posters, you can have billboards, you can have screens. We've got so many advertising mediums, you can get away with it quite easily. Whereas if it's sort of feudal Japan, they don't have any of that stuff. So maybe you'd have some kind of, if it was built 100 years afterwards, that means it's honoring the monk. So maybe there's a statue of the monk and the tree intertwined somehow, or a big scroll on display that maybe tells it really literally. But I think you just want, how do you tell people, you know, they're in this really significant story and there's a mystery to be had?
Okay, up next we have Ludpat with the Living Mountain. On the 1st of July in 1920, explorer Marcus Mystery went inside the mountain looking for gold, gems, or whatever was there to be found. He never came back, and the people near the villages began calling the mountain Mount Mystery. Others went in, but nobody came back. What's inside the caves of Mount Mystery? Are you brave enough to discover its secrets? Are you ready to face its dangers? The scent is sweet, as if there were candies ahead. It's actually a mountain luring you to the center, luring you to enter and be its next meal.
Ooh.
Are you brave enough, Sarah?
Pascal knows this, but if I have a rule with dark rides, I don't want to sit on the front or the edge because I get scared of things popping up. I have issues, trust issues, but that's a different podcast for a different day. But but I think I could ride this with good friends that won't let me sit on the front or the edge.
I like that you approach this attraction and it's a giant living mountain with a huge eye and 3 gigantic cavernous mouth holes. And it's called Mount Mystery. And you're like, why is it called Mount Mystery? Well, it had nothing to do with the fact that it's a living mountain. It's because Marcus Mystery discovered it in 1920. Which I love. Yeah. I love the double entendre that they instilled into the name. You know, I love the. It's great. It makes me. It tickles me to no end.
And this is kind of like, the early ideas for Discovery Mountain in Paris, where you'd have had this whole suite of attractions inside one mountain. So you would have had 20,000 of these under the sea. You would have had a rocket launch ride, all of these inside one facility. It's kind of like that because you've got a river ride through the Monster's Tears. There's a roller coaster as well, but you're inside this beast and then you're still going on all these attractions inside of it. That's such a weird but very, very cool idea. Very Lovecraftian.
It's like an organic Stargate almost. It gives me like an H.R. Geiger feeling almost.
Ooh. Oh yeah, that'd be really cool inside when you're seeing the inside of it and it's just this horrific monster.
And like all the furniture is like bony and stuff.
Oh, it's kind of like Tim Burton, this little hill, isn't it? Very Tim Burton. But just to scale it down for a second and limit just to the entrance, I still think it's really strong because you have the loop that goes round. It echoes the shape of the mouth. The mouth is a pretty scary entrance. I think it really can summarize the whole feeling as like this anthropomorphic mountain that has like molars and tooth gems. Sorry, runes.
Anthropomorphic Mountain with Molars is a great band name, too. Hi, we're the Anthropomorphic Mountain with Molars, and we're here to rock!
Yeah.
I like that, because that implies that there was already a band called Anthropomorphic Mountain.
Well, this is the lead singer left, and they got a new lead singer, and his name is Ron Moeller, and so...
No, his name is Marcus Mystery. It's Mystery, okay?
Yes.
Marcus Moeller Mystery, and...
MMM. Oh,
I would love if this was like a team of dentists that went into there. You know what I mean? Like, because of all the teeth. Never mind. That joke didn't land. All right, we can keep moving on.
It's well considered for this one as well because it's a candy thing to lure you in, but also because the monster's going to eat you apparently.
Yeah,
I like that. Takes you into the story.
And also, sweets rot teeth, so it's like a moral lesson.
Love a moral in a theme park. Yeah.
All right, up next we have Chris and Jack Tillman, The Island of the Three Brothers. I'm going to do a dramatic reading because you guys can't hear it of what's going on in this video.
Okay.
A little boy says he's excited. His dad agrees. A little boy is excited about the banner. The dad agrees. The kid is heavily avoiding the fire mountain. The dad says we'll try riding the other two. So this is really fun.
That one made me laugh. Yeah. Really nice way of working. It doesn't have to be a drawing. It can be like a cutout model. I love it.
Yeah, and the video where we get to tour around it, it's really nice. It stands out from the others because of this approach. I think it's really creative.
Rob, is this the corn cob kids?
Okay. Yeah, it is. Chris Tillman. I believe from what he posted, because he did a fantastic entry, if you guys saw it last time, of the corn cob eating topspin, which was fantastic. And I believe
I did see that, yeah.
This was his son's idea that he brought to life with his modelling skills, so it's definitely a team effort. But I like the theme all the way through, that you've got these three mountains who are kind of three brothers, but then the symbols for each of them, they're on the sign, they're on the mountains themselves, they're on directional signage. So it really weaves it all the way through. There's a fire one, a water one, and an air one. Like, that's really cool.
It gives me like OG test track vibes. You know what I mean? Where you go through the cold tube, you go through the hot tube, you go through like the weather tube. Yeah. I would love a coaster that was like this. Like, here's three mountains. Each of them have wacky stuff going on inside of them, and the coaster's taking you. So like parts of the coaster are hot, or cold, or windy, or wet. Like, you're kind of like going through all of these crazy atmospheres.
Yeah. You know, it would be cool. I don't know I think here it's saying there's like three separate attractions, but if it was one and it was the look of which one you get, and then that makes re-rideability like increased. It's kind of like the three paths, like which one we're going to ride today.
A triple dueling coaster.
Ooh.
A triple dueling
I don't know. Is there a dueling word with three people
just a
involved?
triple coaster.
What? I don't know.
You could have a three-way
match?
duel.
It's,
sure.
It's not
like
called a three-way. It's not called a three-way.
Skip ahead.
Oh, Robert.
Yeah, it's very OG test track combined with almost like Volcano Bay.
Yes.
Especially with symbolism. I think symbolism
and a little bit of Magic the Gathering, I feel.
Oh, the symbols, yeah.
Yeah.
But symbols are a great way to communicate stuff without words. Of course, the obvious thing to say, you know what I mean? Especially if you're in the ride and the track switches. Ever done.
This is so great.
They were inventive with their smell as well. They said it was like the embers from coconuts that have been burnt by the volcano, which I thought was incredibly inventive.
That is really cool.
Mixing the smoke and the fresh coconut smell together.
Rum burning.
So unique, yep.
All right. Up next, we have Morgan Carlisle with the Magical Village, Mount Mystery, named after the mountain that overlooks the town. Mount Mystery is the only place in the world where magical people and creatures live alongside humans. You may be here to browse the shops or visit a rowdy tavern, or perhaps you are here for the land's main attraction, a quest into the mountain itself to find the source of all magic. Enter the land via the elevated walkway, allowing you to look ahead to see the mountain that awaits, or glimpse down at all the town has to offer. This feels very like if Hogsmeade at Universal, if it was a mountain instead of a castle.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. I was thinking, they got Durmstrangs, which I think is the Eastern European equivalent of Hogwarts. Like, if they did an expansion, this could be like the mountainous equivalent of Hogsmeade.
Or it could be like a Swiss.
I was waiting for this.
Well, it could be like a Zermatt meets Harry Potter village.
Ooh.
That would be really nice.
Fantastic Beasts. Yeah, that sounds good.
And but what I'm wondering is, what is the entrance here? Is it just a walkway? Because it feels like it's just designing the land and the entrance is behind us almost. Or would the walkway count as like the design of an entrance?
I think the idea is that the walkway is the entrance is keeping you above the town at kind of like the same plane as the mountain, so that your focus is the mountain, and the town. It's like the rooftops are almost like the entrance gate of the town.
Yeah. I think I'm wanting above the walkway, because I like the idea of the walkway, but you'd want some kind of signage that lets you know you're entering the land, Mount Mystery. Yeah. But the walkway is very clever, because there's a thing called multi-perspection, where you're getting twice as much value because people are seeing what you've built from two different angles, so it feels new. So you can be looking at it from this elevated height, and it's a good way of acclimatizing yourself with the village, and you can see all the shops going on, and then you can sort of descend, and then you're viewing it from ground level, so you're seeing it twice, but you only have to pay to build it once. So that's a very clever design trick.
Ding ding ding.
The smells were well considered in that to diegetic action. They said when there are spells that are cast correctly, then there's a lovely cake smell, and the spells that go wrong have a gunpowder smell. It's nice to support those effects. I can't remember if they detailed how the spells would happen around the visitors, but it's nice having the smells signify which is it.
I like that. Makes it feel like a real place.
Mm.
Also, can someone cut together all the diegetics we mentioned so far? make like a little
And also
clip.
tune it.
All right, up next we have Lars with Mount Fuji, Lego Mount Mystery. The entrance is the gateway to the mysteries of Mount Fuji. The Torii symbol, the Torley symbol symbolically marks the transition from the mundane to the sacred, and the house accommodates the gatekeeper, who is often referred as the protector of the mountain. What secrets is he protecting? The guests get to find out in Mount Mystery. The smells play an important role in helping the guests transition to Mount Mystery. There are many fragrances that will combine to create the smell, including earthy smell, fresh air, frosty, and of course volcano, due to the nature of Mount Fuji.
I mean, it certainly sets the scene immediately, this gate. And also, already thinking about merchandising, brilliant.
Mm.
It's got your little logo on there, Rob. That's
Yeah,
nice.
oh yeah, sorry, we missed this. Like on the box, there's a little me, and there's a little Dan, and there's a little Lars, the minifigures that come with it.
Oh,
That's
lovely.
That's cool.
There's only 2 mystery places left though, so
Oh yeah.
That's true. Yeah, who's it going to be? This is really cool. And there's a video, I think, of it being built. That's very cool because it helps you give an idea of what this place is going to be like.
It's incredible how much storytelling they added to this clip of just an otherwise Lego computer program that just builds the set that you've designed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But they've layered and themed this video to make me like it gives me the tingles.
Yeah, definite time, definite place. It's very cool because it's
a great
really
build. Nice build. Anyway,
Nice, yeah.
Like I'd buy that. I don't know how much it would cost, but I'd buy that.
They're in Lego.
Oh, sorry, a couple of zeros.
I mean, we're probably going to get charged for mentioning the word Lego in this video.
Well, stop saying Lego then.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not paying for it.
That's only like a $39 set. That's only like a.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to buy it if I'm actually in it. Then I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it a lot. Nice one, Lars. All right.
Yeah, beautiful.
Up next, we have Raykampf with the puzzle entrance.
Nice.
Rob, take us through this because.
Okay. I can't do it justice. You'll have to pause it and read it. But the idea is, and this is genius, is it's themed to all kinds of mysteries, and there's all these elevators because you can't just walk into this land. No, that's too easy. There is a riddle to figure out which elevator or which combination of them you need to take to get access. And each of the elevators are themed after a different kind of mystery, from, I think, like 1980s cop shows to Agatha Christie drawing room murder mysteries to government conspiracies. And each of them have their own elevator. And you might figure it out once, but this is constantly changing. So you always have to stay on your toes and figure out which is the right way in. And then each route for each themed mystery, there's a different smell. So like the 1980s one, I think, said smells of like sunblock because they always take places on the beach. But yeah, there's so much detail and it's so ingenious that there's 3 floors you have to navigate. Like you'll go in one elevator, come out of one level, and then have to take another one to try and get out. Like, so, it's absolutely bananas.
I guess I was blown away by reading this, but I guess my only concern with this is just guest flow. Like, I just don't know how, like, I feel like this doesn't eat a lot of guests with, like, the idea of putting this.
Maybe it could be also like an escape room thing where you don't have like a full park waiting in front of it, but it's more like you buy a ticket for that escape room that night and that's how you get in.
exactly. I was thinking this would be more like a boutique park like Evermore, where you've got a smaller clientele. They're really, really game for a mystery, and they'd really dig their teeth into solving it, rather than a bigger, more broader appeal theme park where, like they took out the hydrolators because people were sick of having to wait to get into the ride.
Yeah, because if you're in a big park and you have a guy like me trying to get in, and I mean, I read the solution and I still don't know how I get in. Yeah. So that would be a problem. I even had the schematics and didn't know what's going on. So
it's cool.
I have a couple of questions, and obviously I read a bit of it. Sorry to say, I didn't read all of it. When I get in the elevator and it's not the entrance, what happens? The doors just open again? Or
you wasted your money and you have to go home.
No, each elevator takes you to another level, and there are 3 levels. And so certain elevators will take you to a level where there is no answer, and you have to go to another level to get to that answer. So it just depends on... but each time you go in an elevator, it's taking you to a different floor.
Okay.
I think it eventually narrows it down so you're forced to go into the land. But yeah, I'm not sure how practical it is, but it's a hell of an idea. And I've never seen anything like it.
It's taken that silly, I only tell lies and I always tell the truth kind of labyrinth door scenario, and adding some interactive, it would be fun to kind of get a little bit of that Harry Potter Sphinx, Goblet of Fire. The guests have to interact to progress. They have to choose wisely to progress. Yeah. But that only works on a certain crowd size and a crowd flow. Because can you imagine the fist fights that would break out because some middle-aged dad who's not paying attention pressed a button and went to the wrong thing
with a spreadsheet. We're supposed to have done this door by now.
Forget about rope dropping this ride. It's a crapshoot.
I mean, it would be entertaining.
Yeah,
never boring, right?
A good view from the queue. Everyone squabbling in the elevators.
That would be the attraction for me. Just people getting frustrated in front of it.
What you like? The only thing I do want to do is, story-wise, is take these elevator entrances and put them on top of the hill, because we're going down, not into the mountain. You see what I mean? This mountain just kind of serves as a cool backdrop. But really, to me, I want to be... The land entrance should be at the top, and we're going down into the mountain with the elevators. Do you see what I mean? That's the only thing that I thought of.
Yeah,
it might be nice. It might be nice if, you'd have to switch all the design around, but if the final successful elevator actually takes you up the mountain, so that you end up at the top when you're successful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be very mysterious.
I could see this definitely working for something like one of those water slides that have 6 water slides, and instead of it being elevators, it's a series of stairs, so that as you go up, you're choosing each level and tier you get to, and so you don't know which color slide you're going to end up coming down. If it's more of the idea of an elevator, doors closing, elevator moving, doors opening, we see how long that takes just in the Haunted Mansion for one queue step. It's a but I could see this being like a fun something like that, like a fun play area that's more of a depending on which entrance you choose, it's where you end up in the play area kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I also love the clash of loads of different stories in one, and very thought-provoking. It lends itself to an escape room to me, because that's where an environment where people aren't saying, well, this is just the queue, where's the attraction? This is the attraction. So people...
the first puzzle, yeah.
So people are not just kind of like, this is not just something to keep me busy in the queue, this is, and so I'm going to pay more attention. And this is where detail-orientated things like this really come into play, because people want to touch everything. What does this do? And what does this mean? And what does this say? And how does this fit in? And I think that was a really sort of a captive audience almost. Literally captive. We should be trapped in an elevator.
Several, yeah.
I love the design, though. It's gorgeous.
The presentation's beautiful.
It's very diegetic, yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm not even sure if that was diegetic, but
I don't know. I just wanted to say.
Just wanted to wind Rob up.
All right, up next we have
I don't even know what it means anymore.
we have Emery Arts with The Defenders. Mount Mystery is a land where the people coexist in symbiosis with their environment of supernatural rocks. Rounded, massive boulders, weathered and cracked with age, have become their homes and shops. They farm with these rocks and have a deep respect for all their uses. Inspired by the Moeric rocks of New Zealand, these boulders have whimsically wavy striations and large cracks. Their glow indicates the kind of magic they possess. They are even used to provide electricity, so with these great powers comes the need to defend them from dark forces.
Wow.
I love it. I love the world building. I love rock work, so this is like a great opportunity to have a lot of beautiful rock work. Yeah. Also, I think on the next slide, when you look at the actual entrance with the flying rocks, reminds you maybe a little bit of something that you've seen before, but it never gets old.
But arguably, you don't get to like. You're not close enough to experience those floating rocks. And here, doing stuff like this that you're walking underneath, and if you were a semi-pro NBA athlete could touch, that's pretty cool.
Well, we don't know the scale of this,
True.
Unfortunately. Maybe
but even still, if it's huge, it's still closer.
It's actually very low.
Now I want a park like that where you can actually climb it.
It's like a Spinal Tap, where it's actually only a foot tall, cross over it to get its line.
Or it's like limbo and you have to crawl under it backwards.
Oh, well, as long as it's tall enough for a drunk guest to climb on top, then I think it's fine. But yeah, this won the award for the best land design because if you look at it, the whole thing's laid out. I think it's got where the restaurant's going to be, where the attraction ride building is going to be. And it's not just a single street. It's got winding pathways. It's got waterworks. It's got rocks. I mean, this would be so beautiful.
Yeah.
Rocks, Pascal, rocks. Look at the third slide.
Rocks.
It's just stunning.
I love it.
And the fact that the rocks glow to show that they've got energy in them. That would be amazing at night to see the energy passing around them.
Yeah, and it's like two experiences in one. Again, you have the nighttime land and the daytime land. That would be completely different.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just, and the artwork is so beautiful. It's crazy.
Yeah, very nice. Oh, here you see the scale of that rock thing. It's huge.
Oh, okay. Okay, I apologize. It's definitely bigger than a 1 foot tall.
But it feels more accessible than what they did with Pandora is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, it's
very open.
All right.
Very nice.
Up next. Oh, Google Slides is not happy with whatever's about to happen here.
Whoops.
Jacquesta? I am
Jacques.
But what about the
HCA?
Jacques? Extraterrestrial
I think
world.
It's just. Yeah.
You walk towards a simple farmhouse next to a mountain, but why are the crops burnt into a pattern? Why is there a hole in the mountain? Why is it glowing? Enter a land with a large show building carefully covered with rockwork, darkness, and fog. Good news, Pascal. To discover a hidden extraterrestrial world. Just know, what you see within cannot be unseen. And this gets 2 awards with Best Scent winner and Best Sensory Experience.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Okay.
Big winner.
Liam, why don't you tell us what you love so much about this scent?
What I like about this is that Jacques has thought just like someone at AromaPrime would think. So he's talked about burnt popcorn and bread smells outside the mountain to create a subconscious feeling of intrigue and danger. So with the burning smells, he says that guests, when you smell burning, you want to go and find the source of the burning smell, which is exactly how we think. Like with the Wicker Man roller coaster, they use wood smoke to make people feel anxious and excited. So he's thinking about the psychological effects here, which is excellent, and also the idea of guest flow, so the smell can draw people in. He's talked about an overpowering sweetness partnering with the soundtrack. So he's thinking about how the smells interact with other elements, which is also good. And the smells mix and clash, contrasting extremes. I can't remember the details of where these smells are used, but contrast is also something that's really good in terms of differentiating environments. So he's got all sorts of things that we would be, he may as well be working for AromaPrime because he's hit all the marks. He was my favorite. This is my favorite use of scent just because of all the details he's covered.
Yeah, I like that he said that the smells will be like extremely artificially appealing. It's like no natural flavors. We know that this is because it's the fake. How delicious it isn't right, and that just adds to the mystery. I like that. It's like this is so good, it's got to be fake.
Yeah, and I really like this entry because I think it ticked every box that was set out in the brief. Because we had lots of entries where it was absolutely, beautiful artwork, and they were designing what the entire land's going to be, and the roller coasters, and the restaurants, and the food. But this one nailed every single thing we asked for in the brief. Like, what's the lighting going to be moving from day to night? What are the props going to be? What's the landscaping? Not just what is the scent, but why using that scent and what effect that's going to have. And I think that was great attention to detail, looking what we asked and then answering it point by point. It was terrific.
I love it. All right. And then, Rob, why don't you do us the pleasure of sharing with us the golden armchair? Martin Whedon.
It's exciting.
With the...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob. Talk to us about it.
Okay, so this is Linktree portal. I'm sorry, my Norwegian isn't very good.
You didn't just watch that Will Ferrell movie on Netflix where you didn't.
I watched the first 5 minutes.
Oh my god! I did.
5 minutes was enough.
I saw an ad for it.
I didn't need any more. I didn't need any more. But this ties into sort of Scandinavian mythology about a giant tree being struck down by, I believe, like one of Thor's or Odin's thunderbolts. So it's been sort of cleft in twain, and it's this forbidden cave. So the locals have built stone trolls to sort of deter people from entering. But then there's also fairies as well who want people to come in. So you've got that nice little contrast of sort of that battle going on between them. You've got beautiful script on the rock because it's so important to know where you're going to for a guest to compare it to their park map of like, well, where are we? You've actually got that, and then this artwork for it. I mean, it's just beautiful, like the burning tree above a cavern.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There was an entry earlier in the competition that did an eternally burning a tree that but that we kind of had a very specific artistic design to it. What's interesting about this is that you're designing this as a real tree that's kind of eternally burning. It's easy to tell that that's what's happening, right? It's easy to tell that a lightning bolt hit this, and that it has been burning ever since. And the lightning bolt hit however many years ago, and the tree is still burning. That's like. It's very identifiable and relatable as an experience, and the smells, it's like I loved. This is a really, really fun design.
Yeah,
very nice. Yeah,
fantastic work.
So much so that none of us have anything to say.
You're walking.
It's
I know. I was just staring at it. I do like that the tree, you pass under it and it becomes the archway. It's almost as if like the lightning bolt hitting this tree created the portal, opened the portal to whatever realm this is. And I really like that because it's like you're literally walking through the mysterious archway and it becomes
maybe for
another interpretation of mysterious.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe for a daytime scenario, you could think about also some smoke effects or something, I don't know, to show that eternally burning tree at the daytime. Because now, right now in the artwork, we have a nice nighttime shot. Maybe it's indoors, I don't know. But if it's outdoors, that's also something to consider. How would you show this story in the daylight? Unless you're in England, then it's dark enough from all the clouds.
It's always dark anyway, so you'll have no problem seeing the flaming tree.
Yeah.
Well, as you mentioned smoke, I like the idea of smoke at nighttime as well. If you have like the inside of the tree glowing, and then it kind of is the light goes through the smoke as well. Kind of reminds me of the volcano at Disney Sea. Just the
Yes.
excitement of catching that going off.
That would be very cool.
Well, congratulations,
Nice.
Martin, on your wonderful design. It's gorgeous, and wowing us with your golden armchair magic.
Can we do a little
Well
round of applause?
I-
Can we do a little...
Sarah, I love the idea of a round of applause. Let's make it happen. Oh, the entire, and I'm sure, I hope everyone at home has enjoyed the fact that all of the people, all the guests have been more or less just like those jumping beans. They've just the size of their images has been
Poor guy.
Has a mind of its own.
2 hours long. You had to resize our windows.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, poor
You know,
guy.
it's all right. I have backups on backups.
That's
stuff.
again.
There it is again. You've been the one the entire time, Pascal. You've been the tricky one, man.
I feel so bad. I didn't know.
He's doing it on purpose.
Well, Pascal, while you're so tiny, can you tell everyone where to find you?
Well, yeah. Probably, you just Google my name, Pascal Heinzelmann. No, I'm on ArtStation and very newly on Instagram. I'm actually quite hidden right now, but I will
you
get
are?
out there. Well,
Who
you
told
see,
me?
no, because I don't have any followers yet because I don't post anything yet. But
Okay.
I will go out there and I come back to this podcast and then add myself.
Liam, can you tell folks where we can find you and your lovely smells?
Well, I work for AromaPrime, so you can find us at aromaprime.com. We make themed smells for theme parks and museums and escape rooms and hotels. Any smell you can imagine, we can make it. We're on Instagram and Twitter and all that nonsense as well.
Have you posted anything yet? Pascal
Exactly.
hasn't. I don't know if you
What
caught
about
that or not, but
youth culture?
Does your Instagram have any?
What was that, sorry?
No, I was just poking fun at.
Sorry,
I
what
said,
did
have you
say?
posted anything on Instagram yet? Because Pascal hasn't. So I'm just curious if you.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I have 3 drawings.
Oh,
on there,
okay.
I think, now.
He just posted them between the time he told us.
yeah. But wait. Let's take a photo.
Sarah, where can people find you?
I mean, you can find me on Twitter, but I don't really tweet anymore. Just retweet. You're better looking at my Instagram, which is at Sarah Heel Design. Heel as in get better. When I'm posting
That's
a
good
lot of my.
tagline.
My mom said I should have been a nurse, but only for the name. Like it would have been really cool.
Ooh,
but
your tagline should be Sarah Heel, art that makes you feel better.
Ooh.
can I write that down? Next, I've written down diegetic as well, so I'll write.
I wrote down something about a molar band name. I can't remember what it was.
A lot of
Diegetic ripoff.
The diegetic molars. All right, Rob.
There we go.
As always, it's been a pleasure.
I'm
Hey, challenge number 4. What's the word,
Ooh.
man? What's Sarah, Liam, Pascal? Do you have any influence on challenge number 4? Any suggestions? What are some challenges you'd like to see happen?
Well, I'm always up for a signage challenge. So-
Ride vehicle would be nice, maybe.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'd like to see costuming, character costumes.
Hey,
or
Liam,
staff
I'm right there
costumes.
with you, buddy. I'm a big costume fan. Disney Dan on YouTube.
He's
Yeah.
only saying that so he can enter it and win it. Sorry.
Yeah, Shantae, you
Cheating.
stay.
Does the costume get made when you win? Like the scent?
We've got to find a seamstress or a tailor.
But anyway, Rob, it's fantastic. Once again, Sarah, Pascal, Liam, thank you for joining us and having fun. And remember,
Thank you.
if we said anything,
Thanks for having me.
everything we said, we love all the entries. All the entries were fantastic. Anything that we said is just what would happen. What would happen if you brought your idea to a team who just wants to make your idea better and celebrate and have fun. And all of these ideas were really, really fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really, really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for submitting so many designs. And if anybody ever wanted any critique, opinions, help from me, on signs or anything else, you're welcome to message me or anything like that on Twitter or
Please
on
don't
Instagram.
DM me, though.
Just wanna...
Please, I don't want to hear from any of you.
Don't encourage him.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
We're going to be in touch with the winners so we can get their scents made for them.